We have been in a fog, and as we've emerged, we see that the world has been pushed to the brink, and so have you. I'm Dr. David Owers, I'm the Doc of DeFi, and I invite you on a journey with me, a double major education, one of health, one of wealth, and how the two interact. So, fear of missing out came up recently, something that I had committed to with a long term sort of financial commitment um, because I just couldn't miss the opportunity. I just thought it was the best thing for me from a personal and business development point of view. And it's sort of come back to haunt me a little bit in that, yeah, I probably did that without full on keeping accountable to the fact that practically it probably wasn't the best thing to do. But you know, sometimes the practical things are the boring things, and you'll find a way. That's what I keep telling myself. But this reminded me of another fear of missing out that I partook in about 4 to 5 years ago when I first got into the crypto space. Briefly, then I exited. At that time, the only thing I knew to relate to the blockchain was simply Bitcoin and buying and trading Bitcoin. And that's how I started off. It was quite the fear of missing out because everybody was saying that it was going to shoot up 3 times its value and that I'd better get in. And then, of course, as I was involved, because I had put a bit of financial skin in the game, then I was forever trying to watch the market's ups and downs and making sure that I didn't lose everything and making sure that I could profit on whatever might have happened. Long and short of it is, I did profit somewhat, but it was too much of a headache, and the way I went about it was certainly not sustainable. But now I'm thinking of another angle on fear of missing out. That's the fear of missing out on this entire space altogether because of perhaps a notion I had a while ago that is it outdated now, or at least wasn't showing me the big picture then, and I assumed it was. Everything that there was to do with this was called Bitcoin, and that's all it was. Um, I think the real fear of missing out is exactly that, is that not being able to understand the full scope, not being told, not being educated, not finding the answers to show just how this whole space can be there for you and not you be there for it. In other words, you don't have to feel like for some reason you're going to become a slave to this blockchain or metaverse or crypto space. So that's the big one right now, and that's part of what I'm trying to dispel. It's part of what I am attempting to familiarize, to normalize, and hopefully that will somewhere sort of grab hold to something familiar inside of you that will create the link, that will be able to tie you to wanting to know a bit more about this space and wanting to know a bit more about the huge potential and everything else that can go along with it. Having said that, I am going to go back to some basics. Remember, I promised a while back that I would get into the coins. We've already talked about the various types of wallets in general terms, the cold wallet and hot wallets. And we've talked about the exchanges, the centralized and decentralized exchanges. Now we will talk a little bit about the coins. So the first and foremost sort of pioneer coin is the Bitcoin. It was first conceived as a white paper study out there from 2009, and since then it has simply dominated the crypto space with regards to a digital asset. It is more or less known as a blue chip in the digital world. It simply has remained that incorruptible, I suppose, for lack of a better word. Yes, I understand the value has changed quite a lot, but without going into too much of that, because the video would be far too long, it is seen as something that is here to stay and that is going to provide value in the future more and more and more. So there is another coin that goes alongside of it, a bit of a pioneer in the space, is called Ethereum. And actually, this was something that was developed right here in Canada, I do believe, in Toronto. Um, and it is a little different than Bitcoin in that it represents the decentralized financial um, engine, let's say. It's more of a protocol. It's more of a system, a programming. And it too, just like Bitcoin, has a relatively solid history and is something that is going to be here to stay. There's a lot of speculation out there that there are competitors to this coin that might take over. But when you talk about its staying power, many experts in the space believe that it will be here to stay, despite the few encumbrances that it is facing and that are coming to light as this whole crypto space and blockchain matures. So these two are known as blue chips in the digital industry. They are something that could be held um, for long term and not something that necessarily needs to be traded day in and day out. And price action on these is probably not as important as dollar cost averaging into your position and holding on to these. Currently, the market in the crypto space is sort of in a sideways slash bearish direction. So it is not in a surge. It is not in a boom type of scenario, and it is arguably a good time to for anybody new to get into that kind of thing. There's a new type of coin, relatively new, that has come out, and it is known as stablecoin. A stablecoin is a digital currency whose value is directly pegged to the US dollar in most cases. I believe there are some stablecoins based in other currencies. But for the most part, the US dollar. So, in other words, if you are issued one stablecoin, digital stablecoin, it is backed by a physical US dollar held in reserve by the person that issued that, or the program project, sorry, that issued that stablecoin in the first place. These coins are gaining popularity because they are sought as the transactional coin, the coin that is used to move about um, and bring your position into different coins, a reality. But more importantly, these can also be parked somewhere, given with still retaining ownership, but loaned over to a platform, and in return, they'll give you some interest on it, and usually a favorable amount of interest, more than we're used to from other types of lending that we have done in the non-digital world. So stablecoin is the next sort of category of coins. And then we've got the altcoins. And these are all the other ones. You know, there's about 19 or 18,000 to 19,000 coins out there now for various projects that are going on. It's important not to just go with the coin or the name of the coin, but to actually investigate what's going on behind it, why that coin exists. And it's quite fascinating to see that information, and fascinating to see the communities that are being built around coins. So that's really very, very interesting. And this is where a lot more speculation occurs. And in a kind of market like this, where it's sideways or going down, it usually is not a great time to expect to gain a lot of yield or to make a lot of headways with these types of things. But again, it might be a good time to invest in certain ones that you have done your own research on and decided that it would be a good time to gain a position in them now when the market is soft. So generally speaking, those are the three main categories of coins, and I've only named two of them. All the others have remained nameless because it would be quite a daunting task. And also, of course, none of this is really meant to be any financial advice, as I'm not a financial expert. So on purpose, there's not a lot of detail here, but it does give you a general direction. It does give you a way to break down a so-called digital portfolio in terms and ways of thinking about it. So anyways, we'll catch you on the next video.